Now in this video, we're going to be going over some basic builds and max damages you could possibly see. And at the same time, we're going to show you some tips and tactics on what to use so you can avoid some damages, as well as make sure that you understand that this works for PvP as well. And while some people in PvP hate these types of tactics, you're not going to be able to change it. It's in the game, so you might as well use them and use it to the best of your abilities. So let's get into this, shall we? So first and foremost, we gotta just talk about the damages. Now, while Glass Cannon does offer the most instantaneous damage, it is not the max amount of damage you will ever see. And we can actually prove that here. Now, some of these are like speedrun type tactics and things that you'll be using, especially with the types of weapons. Now, these three weapons that you can see are the strongest damage weapons for a DPS type damage. Now, depending on what you want, you can use the boomerang or anything like that. You could use the other one, which you just have to land headshots if you're good with. But most people like to run the Diamondback because once you get that crit, it can give you that extra damage and be able to crit on anything. It's actually a horrible weapon. They need to fix the Diamondback. The Dr. Home will actually help your teammates, which it gives decent damage, but you can actually give your teammates heals. So this is kind of a team-based weapon. Versus this one here, it's kind of a singular type damage. Now, the Merciless actually does give probably the most for the explosive damage once you can get that extra percentage versus the Ravenous. But the Ravenous can give you that Gary and Fricky, which helps out on some things, especially like the last boss on Iron Horse, to get those extra damages out. Now, there are some other weapons in here to mention, especially like the Capacitor, because just like this one here, while it does have the most damage, this one can give you the yellow cores, which if you have extra yellow cores give you more damage, and it has the highest critical hit damage on a weapon that we've seen to date, the extra 30%. So with that being said, your M1A is going to be your strongest weapon. Now, as you can see, the Kingbreaker, even though I have it up to level 20, this one is the highest damage if you're going to use the flatline. Now, in comparison to the AK or the FAL SA-58, these can actually land better shots, especially the FAL. It can land better shots, but even at a max 20, that perfect flatline versus the flatline, you're going to get the more damage out of the perfect flatline than the regular flatline. Even though it says 15%, and this one here is weapon damage is a little bit higher, you're still going to see more damage on the Kingbreaker. So, with that being said, it depends on what you have on there, like your mods. I have headshot damage because I'm using the focus, versus the other spots everywhere else I put crit chance. So that way I can crit high, and that's how you can work it out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kill a few targets over here on the left with the pistol to get this extra bit, which if you don't know about it, the orbit can give you that extra bit, but it's only for 10 seconds, so you're going to have a short period of time. So you can even use a busy bee, land some targets, and keep that damage for about the same amount of time. I believe it's to 10 seconds, but it takes more to land. So if you use an orbit, you can actually get near the same amount of extra damage, not the same amount, but near the same amount of damage. So we will be showing the two main ones, the two highest damages, which is going to be the perfect Glass Cannon and the perfect focus. Now, a lot of people are in controversy about this because, yes, Glass Cannon does give you the instantaneous damage versus focus. You have to stack it up. But not having that incoming damage actually makes the focus better. And if you're able to use a tactic I'm going to show you guys later on to keep yourself from getting the damage taken to you. So you're going to get the more damage out of the perfect focus, and you're going to have the more survivability, which makes it an overall better thing to use. Now, if you don't want to use the scopes, then definitely go with the Glass Cannon. Now, if you happen to use the perfect Glass Cannon, it's also better to put on the gift backpack. Now, as you see, I have a Seska backpack, but the only difference is not the damage. It's only a 1 second extra buff. So if you happen to put on a med kit and you need to come out and shoot and you want the damage of 1 second faster, you can use so. If not, that 1 second really doesn't matter. But now that we have the new backbone, this one here on a focus build actually works the better. So once I get that, I'll be putting that into the actual codex to show the perfect unstoppable force with crit chance and critical hit damage. And we can actually show that. Now I do have another video on that if you want to go take a look. Yes, it is more. So what you would do in that sense, if you want to use a backbone, you would take this Grupo right here and put a Seska in its place to get the crit chance and drop off a little bit of critical hit damage. And that's all you'd have to do. And then on your weapon, you could again trade these spots out. As you can see, you can put crit chance, critical hit damage into these spots. Now it depends on what you want or what you feel is better for you. Currently, this is actually a good one to be at 44, but if you want to push it up to the 50 marker so you can crit a little bit easier with Boomerang, you can definitely do so. But as you can see, we also have that for the Kingbreaker is 54%. So again, if you want to crit more for Boomerang, just slap that into the spot. You lose 5%, and it still hits pretty much the same. It's just now you're going to crit a little bit more, so that's going to be more higher damage with Boomerang. So definitely a good spot to put it at. And so now we come down to the exotics part. Which exotic suits you? Now, Coyote's Mask is going to help team-based play and help yourself out at the same time. Versus, say, something like the Catharsis while taking damage, which is kind of pointless on an all-red DPS build like this. Even though you could get some heals out of it, you're never going to see the max of it for the whole time unless you just take some damage and hide using the focus. So Catharsis is not always going to be your best bet for your specific build. Though it can be good at times, you can get rid of statuses and things like that, you could see near the same amount of damage. Now, 3 of the exotics that you can put onto this, another one is the Sawyers. The Sawyer's knee pads. This is not going to be your best in slot. Though it does give high damage, I will show why this one here, especially on these types of builds, is actually the worst. It's only good for like Pestilence builds because that allows you to stay in a certain spot, as well as the Bloody Knuckles. Now the Petrov gloves, these are useless against Chongas. Anything damage to armor is useless against Chongas. So getting the actual weapon damage out, this only lasts for about 20 seconds. So this is not always going to be your best bet, even though some people like to use it in sense, because all you got to do is toss a grenade, hit them, run up and slap them. It can be good in certain types of scenarios, but not when you're using ranged weapons and things of that nature. Even just hitting them with one grenade, that 20 seconds doesn't last very long. So we're going to show that as well. But otherwise, this is an all-around max DPS build that you're seeing right here. So first we're going to show the range, and then we're going to actually go show against targets. So all we have to do to get the max amount of DPS is kill one of these targets over here with a pistol and then swap away. Now, I'm going to show y'all a little trick. As you can see, we're stacking everything that we got. We're going to get the max amount of damage out of this first before we show you the little thing that I'm talking about. You see, we can hit almost 7 mil. Then you see, that's pretty much gone within the last 3 seconds. So you only have about 3 seconds of that type of damage. But if not, we're still going to hit for close to about 6 mil. So that's with this build. Now, if I don't use the pistol, I don't do anything like that. As you can see, we're building focus, but if I zoom away and I zoom back, we can continuously restack it. So this allows you to keep it going versus the moment you stop zooming in, you lose it. As you can see, 6.5. We hit for 6.5. So again, you can keep focus going. It's just how you use it. Again, it won't just go away unless you just stop zooming for a longer period of time. You can actually zoom away and then zoom back and keep it going the whole entire time. Now here's a little bit of a tactic on what you would want to use with this. Now as you see, I have a shield and I'm zooming in. This allows me to reach around this corner by staying on the left and do damage.
However, a very important note that you need to know is the glass cannon effect also works against your shield as well. So as you see, it only took a few shots and boom, it was gone. Now, this works the same way in PvP, so any kind of extra damage that they can get, like health damage, that also works against your shield, because your skill like that is based upon health. As you can see right here, having to take this extra damage also is going to make it to where you have to go over and put on a med kit, which is less DPS in the end run, which is sometimes why glass cannon is not the better choice. And if your shield is cracked like that, then you can't peek around the corner again like this. So having that shield also allows you to avoid having to peek around those, or allowing you to peek around those corners, so you can do damage without taking in damage. That's another reason why sometimes the shield is actually good for glass cannon. Now, if you happen to want to use the perfect glass cannon, I would suggest that when you use the sacrifice chest piece, you don't have to have a third piece of Providence. A piece of Grupo will also give you the extra critical hit damage, as you can see right here. So you don't have to have that. You can just put on one piece of Grupo. But if you're going to run the Providence chest and you want to do that, also make sure that you run the perfect Vigilance, because this only cuts it down in 1 second. So if you happen to take damage, you can get it back faster. So this is actually the better way to run this if you want to do it. Now, you don't again, you don't have to put on the third piece of Providence. You can just put on the Grupo there, and nothing really changes. So now we come over here and we'll see our damage numbers. So we'll go ahead and set this up. Bring the target closer. Get a kill. Get this pistol. Perfect finisher, the orbit. And once we're ready, we swap away and we can just start shooting. Rather than focus, where you might have to build it up, this is going to give you instantaneous damage. But again, also, like we said before, glass cannon. If you take damage, then you have to put on a med kit, so that takes away from it, your survivability. So again, this is where it comes down to, you can do instantaneous damage, but you need to know how to play the build smart. Now, some other weird ones I've seen out here is this. Now, they're doing the same kind of concept. They're trying to get the most damage possible. They're using the focus, they're using the vigilance, but then they have to throw a grenade, and this doesn't last very long, honestly. So what they do right here is they put on, instead of a piece of Providence, they're going with the Walker to get the extra weapon damage out. They're going with the perfect, focus, or glass cannon, either one. And if they do that, they put on the 3-piece right there, so they'd have the Providence on the backpack, the Providence on the mask, get the critical hit chance, critical hit damage, either way. And they're just trying to run with the gloves. Now, these gloves, don't get me wrong, they can give you more damage at the end run, but it's not going to be good, because then you have to take away from doing so to actually keep the damage up there, and then just you have to zoom back in. It's not really the best way to do this. So we're going to show this right here as to why it's kind of horrible, but you can easily still make it work. Again, if you want to make it work, if you like it, it's cool. Throw your grenade out there, get your proc for your gloves, and especially this one because of the range. Now, you can throw this one here on if you have firewall. It also gives you the good range, but you're going to lose out on some stuff. You can use the survivalist. These all have pretty good range for trying to make these gloves work, but this one here has the best one besides the firewall. So let's demonstrate what they're doing. Toss a grenade, hit a target or two, you got your proc. So that's basically it. Once you do that, then it's trying to get the stacks up, and you can keep this for what, about, I don't know, 60 seconds? No, is it? I can't remember. 20 seconds. So yeah, then you'd have to bash them. So it doesn't last. It's like the one-hit chump, you know. You're done in a few seconds. Like, she's really, really tight for damage. So we're going to try to make this work. Toss a grenade. Okay, we got it. Cleared it. Now we re-toss another grenade. This will make it proc. Boom. Okay. So as we're doing that, we're also stacking focus at the same time. As you see, we don't have very long, but let's try to get this to work. 5, 7, 6, what was it, 6, 3. So yeah, it's really high damage, but you don't get to keep it very long. Yeah, 6, 5, somewhere around it. So yeah, very high damage, but again, because it clears so fast, not worth it. Honest to God, not worth it. Now another great one to do is to take off the foxes and actually put on the Sawyer's knee pads. Now as you can see right down here, I'm starting to stack. Now why is this great with a shield, especially like saying glass cannon or focus, is because now while I'm having this shield out, I don't have to move around as much. I can literally just leave my character right here, aim and shoot without having to worry about them hitting me, and then boom, I can keep the damage. But if I have to move up like this right here, you see it starts to lose away, and then I'll have to restack. So it doesn't take very long, because if I'm using it this way, again another tactic of using the shield like so, this allows you to actually get that damage out and not have to move. A lot of people talk about, oh, I gotta move, I gotta come out of cover. If you're doing this right here, they're gonna come for you because they want to get you out of cover, because the NPCs don't like it when you do this. It's something about them causes them to aggro, to come at you a little bit more. So this here is actually a great way to keep your Sawyers going, to get the more damage out and force the NPCs to come at you. So see, look, they're just going to keep coming. They're going to try to run down this hallway. After you kill one, another one will rush up, because they know they're getting shot at. They just want to kind of find out what the hell is out there to rush you out. So again, another great way to get this damage out. Now a lot of people are going to be hating on this right here, especially because they don't want this tactic to change, or they want the tactic to change. They want the devs to fix it. You can't do it without messing up the entire game. It's part of the game. So learning how to do this type of tactic will actually make your DPS a lot better. It's going to change the weapons you prefer to use. So using your shield, popping it out, you're going to be able to see around these corners. Now how to do so is, you see this edge of the wall that's right here. Basically, as you see, I'm aimed into the wall, but being able to see around the outer edge is what it does. So as you see, it's hard to demonstrate when you're solo, but as you can see, my arm will still be sticking out. There will be something of you that can stick out just a tiny bit until you pop your shield. Once you pop your shield, you won't be able to see much of anything. But it doesn't mean that even in PvP you can't kill this player. And that's the most important thing. A lot of PvPers hate the fact that some people do this right here, but you can't change game mechanics. So how to stop that is very simple. Just use an EMP or a sticky EMP and knock them out. But as long as you can see down the side of this wall right here, just like so, you can peek around that corner and nothing else can shoot you. But the corner, as you saw, the shield sticks out just a tiny bit, you can shoot that. So complaining about game mechanics that are in the game that people don't want them to use is kind of redundant. Now the other thing is, you can't do this off the right side. As you see, I'm standing out in the open. So this is how far you stick out from the corner, and how far you would stick away from the corner is right here. As you can see, I'm seeing right down the side of this right here. That's where I'd be able to see. That's how far. We're not talking much, but enough. That's how far your weapon actually sticks out and around from a corner, if you can kind of tell the difference. I'm right in the middle of the box, and I would be able to shoot everything around to the right hand side of it, just like so. See? So again, your shield will stick out just a tiny bit. But again, if you want to stop a player in PvP from doing this, because he can't shoot it off this side, he can only be on this side, you would just shoot a sticky at his feet at the corner of this right here. And you can do that without even peeking around a corner yourself. So if we take the EMP sticky, which you can get from a certain mission from one of the bosses, if he's sitting there doing this around this corner, all you'd have to do is, boom, hit that, detonate it, and then boom, it shuts off his shield. Now he can't do that. It also staggers him, and that's another reason why sometimes, because you want to prevent the stagger, having the Sawyer's knee pads on would also help out, especially for PvP in that type of sense. So hopefully this has been informative for you guys.